sounds delicious. All right, let's take a look at our hardest problem. And if it seems confusing, don't worry, I've got you. Stick with me. I'm going to take you through a couple examples to help this get a little bit easier. Now, tap pause to try problem 1 on your own. Let's go! Solve your math problems. As always, start by using my what's the most important word strategy. So we jump to the question. We're looking for the word what or which. And this time it doesn't have either of those, but usually the question is at the very end of the problem. So it's asking how many protein bars will he need to eat if he eats 3 shakes. So now what we need to do is figure out what does X stand for, what does Y stand for, and then we can solve the problem. X is the number of protein bars. So I'm going to write that down. X equals the bars. And then Y is the number of protein shakes. So I'm going to write that down also. Now that you've summarized your variables, try to figure out which variables do you know and which variable is the question asking about. So he had 3 shakes. So what does that mean? Well, that means that Y is 3 and they're asking how many bars. So X is what we have to figure out. So we're going to put 3 in for Y and work it out. 3 times 600 is 1800. So we'll have 300x plus 1800 equals 3000. Subtract the 1800, and now 300x equals 1200. Divide by 300, and we get x equals 4. So he's going to need 4 protein bars. Okay, so hopefully you feel better about those problems now and understand if you can just break down that big giant word problem into just a quick little summary, like X was the number of bars and Y was the number of shakes, then you can figure out the number of bars and shakes and solve the problem. Now, tap pause to try problem 2 on your own. So this problem looks very similar, but they've upped the game a little bit because now there's 3 variables. There's t, x, and y. So let's go on a little tiny treasure hunt to figure out what does t stand for, what does x stand for, and what does y stand for. And of course, what's the question asking? Well, t is the total amount of chicken feed, which makes sense, t for total. And then x is the number of hens. And Y is the number of roosters. So now let's try to gather our facts. Do we know the total? Do we know the number of hens? Do we know the roosters? What's the question asking for? Well, the 6,000 is the number of grams of feed. So that's the value for T. And the question says there's 80 hens. So that means X equals 80. And the question asks, how many roosters are there? So we'll put a big question mark there for the number of roosters for Y. Okay, let's put all of our numbers into the problem, and we get 6,000 equals 60 times 80 plus 50i. Well, 60 times 80 is 4,800. And so just like the last problem, we'll subtract that away from our total. That leaves us with 1,200 equals 50y. Divide both sides by 50, and we get y equals 24. So there's 24 roosters. So I hope you're starting to feel better about these problems, figure out what numbers go with each variable, and then just solve the equation. We've got one problem left. Please like this video, and because I can't explain 12 years of math in 10 minutes, please subscribe to my channel. And as always, don't forget to share with your friends. Now, tap pause to try problem 3 on your own. Somebody has taken a watermelon up to the top of a 200-foot high building. What could possibly go wrong next? The question is asking for when will the height be 56 feet. So let's summarize our variables. What does h of t equal? Well, h usually goes with something like height. And sure enough, h of t is the height of the falling watermelon. And they've got t. Well, t is usually time. And sure enough, here in this problem, t is the number of seconds. So those are our variables. Now, what number do we know and what's the question asking? Well, the question's asking for when will the height be 56 feet? So we know the height is 56 and we have to figure out when that will happen. So we don't know t. So the 56 is going in for the height. And I know it says h of t there. That does not mean h times t. That's just really the height. So 56 goes in for the height. And now we have to solve for t. Well, if we want to get t by itself, we should probably subtract the 200 first. So that gives us negative 144. Divide both sides by negative 16, and that gives us t squared equals 9. So what number squared equals 9? Well, 3, of course. So t is 3. I hope that helps you on test day. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any videos, and most importantly, improve your SAT score. A link to some practice problems is in the description below. Please practice.